When you look up at the night sky, you probably see stars. If you're lucky, you might spot a satellite gliding by, one of the modern constellations of our time. But for decades, a strange story has been passed around in whispers. A legend shared between radio operators, military staff, and online sleuths. It's a story that claims governments have been tracking something else. They call it an anomaly, a ghost in the machine, maybe just a piece of junk. But the legend has a much cooler name. The Black Knight. This is supposedly the story of a 13,000-year-old secret, an alien object that has been watching humanity since the last ice age. Believers say it's a sentinel that's been detected by our smartest minds, tracked on military radar, and even photographed by astronauts. The evidence, they claim, is hidden in plain sight. So what is this thing? A relic from a lost civilization? A probe from a distant star? Tonight we're piecing together the leaked evidence and historical accounts to uncover the story of this silent watcher. We'll follow the trail of clues, from the turn of the 20th century to the space race and beyond, to separate the myth from the reality. Because whatever the secret is, it's been kept long enough. The story of the Black Knight doesn't start with a satellite dish or a rocket launch. It starts in a lab in Colorado Springs, back in 1899, humming with electricity. The man at the center of it all was Nikola Tesla, a genius so far ahead of his time, he was often called a man from the future. Tesla built a massive experimental station to chase his ultimate obsession, wireless power. His magnifying transmitter was a colossal coil designed to send electricity through the Earth itself. But during his experiments, he stumbled onto something else. Something that would stick with him for the rest of his life. Alone in his lab tracking lightning storms, Tesla noticed something odd. His super-sensitive instruments were picking up faint rhythmic signals. They were orderly, repetitive, almost mathematical. He called them counting codes. After ruling out every known source on Earth, and even interference from the sun, Tesla was left with a mind-blowing possibility. In a 1901 article for Collier's Weekly, he wrote with conviction about the potential for interplanetary communication, suggesting the signals could be a message from another world, and even speculated it could be from Mars. While the famous 1, 2, 3 quote is often misattributed to him, his published writings show he genuinely believed he might have intercepted something extraterrestrial. For fans of the Black Knight theory, this is ground zero. They argue Tesla didn't just discover cosmic radio waves, he'd received the first transmission from this ancient orbiting object. After millennia of silence, the Watcher had finally spoken, and only Tesla was listening. So what did Tesla actually hear? While an alien probe is a tantalizing idea, modern science offers more plausible explanations. One hypothesis is that Tesla might have been the first person to detect a pulsar, rapidly spinning neutron stars that emit regular radio pulses, which wouldn't be officially discovered until 1967. Another theory suggests he was detecting natural radio emissions from Jupiter's magnetosphere. The most likely explanation, however, is that he was simply picking up interference from his own powerful equipment or the rhythmic pulses from a distant, powerful lightning storm. By believing they were a message from another world, Nikola Tesla accidentally laid the first brick in the foundation of one of today's most enduring conspiracy theories. The mystery got deeper about 30 years later, moving from the Colorado desert to the cold airwaves of Norway. In 1927, an amateur radio operator named Jürgen Hals was experimenting with shortwave transmissions. He sent out a signal and waited for the normal echo to bounce off the ionosphere. But then something bizarre happened. After the first, expected echo, a second, phantom echo returned. More than 3 seconds later. Physically, this should have been impossible. A radio signal moving at the speed of light can't take that long to return from anywhere inside Earth's atmosphere. For a 3-second delay, the signal would have had to travel to the moon and back. Over the next year, other operators around the world started reporting these long-delayed echoes, or LDEs. The delays were all over the place: 3 seconds, 8 seconds, 15 seconds, in no predictable pattern. For years, it was just a scientific oddity. Then, in the early 1970s, a Scottish researcher named Duncan Lunan offered a wild hypothesis. He didn't think the LDEs were random at all. He theorized they were an intelligent message from an alien probe that had been in orbit for thousands of years. Lunan graphed the delay times from the 1920s data and was stunned by what he saw. He claimed the pattern wasn't random, it was a star map. The map appeared to show the constellation Buddhas. Lunan made a shocking claim. The map showed the sky as it looked 13,000 years ago. This was the bombshell. The probe, he concluded, must be 13,000 years old. He even said he'd translated part of the message, identifying the probe's home as a planet orbiting the star Epsilon Boötis. The story went viral. The Black Knight legend now had its age and its origin story. It's an amazing story. But is it true? Unfortunately, no. And the person who debunked it most thoroughly was Duncan Lunan himself. Just a few years after his bombshell paper, Lunan admitted his methods were unscientific, and his conclusions were based on outright errors. He had used flawed data, and the star map was just a case of seeing a pattern that wasn't really there, a classic example of apophenia. The specific 13,000-year figure, based on stellar precession, is astronomically tenuous and not supported by evidence. So what are long-delayed echoes? Decades later, they're still a genuine scientific puzzle. Theories range from signals bouncing through strange plasma clouds in the magnetosphere to other complex atmospheric effects. The key takeaway is this: while the phenomenon is real, there's no credible evidence the echoes are artificial. The connection to an alien satellite was made by one researcher who later admitted he got it wrong. But the damage was done. The number 13,000 was burned into the public imagination. Section 2. The echoes from a ghost. The long-delayed echoes of the 1920s. The Black Knight story roared back to life in the 1950s, right at the dawn of the space age and deep in the paranoia of the Cold War. In 1954, newspapers ran sensational headlines, citing UFO researcher and retired Marine Corps Major Donald Keyhoe. They reported that the U.S. Air Force had detected not one, but 2 artificial satellites orbiting Earth. This was 3 years before the Soviets launched Sputnik 1. At the time, no country on Earth had the tech to put anything in orbit. So if they weren't American and they weren't Soviet, whose were they? For Black Knight believers, the answer was obvious. The story got another boost in February 1960, when Time magazine reported that the U.S. Navy had spotted a dark object in a strange, near-polar orbit. The object was estimated to weigh around 15 tons, far heavier than anything the U.S. or USSR could supposedly launch. It was during this media frenzy that the name Black Knight became popularly tied to a physical object in space. The confusion was compounded because a completely unrelated real series of British-sounding rockets was named the Black Knight from 1958-1965, creating a false sense of legitimacy. So, what was really going on? The 1954 reports from Donald Keyhoe have never been backed up by any official records, and are considered a media-fueled UFO story. The 1960 dark satellite incident, however, was real. But it wasn't alien. A follow-up article in Time quickly cleared things up. The object was the casing from a Discoverer 8 satellite, launched by the U.S. Air Force. The Discoverer program was a cover for Corona, America's first spy satellite system. The Black Knight was a lost piece of top-secret American space hardware, its identity obscured by classification and public anxiety. Perhaps the most persuasive piece of evidence in the whole saga comes from a man who saw Earth from orbit, Mercury astronaut Gordon Cooper. The legend goes that during his 1963 Faith 7 mission, Cooper radioed a tracking station to report a glowing, greenish object moving eastward. The story claims it was also picked up by radar, and that NASA later covered it up. For believers, this was the smoking gun. An American hero had seen the Black Knight. But this story is false. Researchers have gone through the official NASA mission transcripts and Cooper's own records. There is zero record of any such report. That conversation never happened. So, where did this story come from? It's a total fabrication that attached itself to a famous name. It's crucial to note that Gordon Cooper did report an unexplained aerial sighting earlier in his career. But it was in 1951 over West Germany while he was an Air Force pilot, not from space. He later became a believer in UFOs, but the specific famous tale of him seeing the Black Knight from his Mercury capsule is a myth. The astronaut's testimony, the strongest pillar of the theory for many, crumbles under the slightest pressure. The internet gave the Black Knight legend rocket fuel, and in December 1998, the theory got what many consider its ultimate proof, a photograph. During the Space Shuttle Endeavour's STS-88 mission, astronauts took several shots of a bizarre, dark, and angular object silhouetted against the Earth. The UFO community went wild. This was it, the Black Knight satellite, in all its alien glory. NASA catalogued it as debris, but believers saw this as another cover-up. The reality is far more mundane. The object in the photos is a thermal blanket. This has been confirmed by NASA, space journalists, and the astronauts on the mission. During a spacewalk, a thermal blanket came loose and floated away. As it tumbled, it crumpled into a strange shape. The harsh lighting of space created high-contrast shadows that made the flimsy blanket look like a solid metallic object. An optical illusion. NASA tracked the object. It wasn't in a stable, ancient orbit. It was in the same low Earth orbit as the shuttle and burned up in the atmosphere within months. The ultimate proof was a picture of a piece of trash. If we suspend disbelief, the Black Knight story faces an insurmountable scientific problem: orbital decay. The laws of physics are the ultimate mythbusters. Any object in low Earth orbit where the STS-88 photos were taken experiences constant drag from the atmosphere. This drag causes its orbit to decay until it plummets back to Earth and burns up. No object in a low Earth orbit can remain there for 13,000 years, or even 100 years, without active propulsion. So, if the Black Knight were real and 13,000 years old, it would need to be in a much higher orbit, a geosynchronous orbit, over 22,000 miles up. But this creates another problem. We have meticulously mapped the geosynchronous belt. Every single object larger than a basketball is catalogued and tracked. There is no unknown, 15-ton, alien-looking object in a stable orbit around Earth. The idea that a massive, ancient satellite could hide from the world's tracking systems in the 21st century is simply not plausible. This scientific reality is the final nail in the coffin. The Black Knight cannot be in a low orbit because it would have fallen down long ago, and it cannot be in a high orbit because we would see it. The only place it can exist is in the realm of story. So, after a journey from Tesla's lab to the Cold War, what are we left with? The legend of the Black Knight is a cargo cult myth for the space age, built by misinterpreting real human technology, Tesla's radio, spy satellites, the space shuttle, to explain the unknown. The story sticks around because it taps into something deeply human, our fascination with the unknown and our hope that we aren't alone. But there is no credible scientific evidence for a 13,000-year-old alien satellite. Every single piece of proof dissolves under scrutiny. Tesla heard natural signals. The long-delayed echoes are an atmospheric mystery. The dark satellite was American space junk. Gordon Cooper never saw it. The famous photo is a lost blanket, and physics tells us such an object cannot exist in the orbits described. The real secret of the Black Knight isn't an alien watcher in our skies. The secret is how easily a story can be built from coincidence, misinterpretation, and wishful thinking. The legend itself is the true phenomenon, a testament to our collective imagination, forever searching for answers in the vast, silent dark. What do you think? Why does this legend continue to capture our imaginations, even after being debunked so many times? Let us know your theories in the comments below.